Now, just over a fortnight, Doctor Who returns to our screens, this time, of course, with a new face as the Time Lord. Peter Capaldi is the man. He's promising a much darker version of the character than we're used to. Yesterday, fans got a preview of what's in store.
Thousands of people, along with the Doctor himself, went to a special screening of the first episode of the new series. Our entertainment correspondent, Lizo Mzimba, was there and met the TARDIS's new owner.
The kind of crowds usually reserved for a Hollywood blockbuster, an overwhelming amount of expectation for the new Doctor.
It's quite scary because obviously it's so loved by people and it is an iconic figure and it is important to people, and you feel a great responsibility in the sense that you don't want to let people down, but at the same time you have to be true to your own instincts as a performer and as an artist, and try and do what you think is the right thing with it, which not everybody might agree with that, but you have to be true to your heart.
Clara, be my pal. Tell me, am I a good man?
I don't know.
The opening episode seems to be introducing a much darker Doctor. That, of course, comes partly from the scripts, but also from you. Is that a direction you were particularly keen to push in?
So yes, I was keen that he would be a little darker, less user-friendly. But he's funny, you know, he's still he's a very joyful character. He's just a little more, he doesn't care very much what people think about him. But he's still full of joy, he still loves the universe, he still loves his life.
That was quick.
This is Gun Girl. She's got a gun and she's a girl. This is the sort of boss one here, the same one as before.
Yes.
I think he's probably her uncle, but they made that up to pass the time while they were talking. This is Clara, not my assistant. She's some other world.
I'm his carer.
Yeah, my carer. She cares, so I don't have to.
Chris Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, all immensely popular Doctors. Yeah. How much of a risk does this feel like to you, because you don't want to be the one to end that trend?
Not everybody's going to like me. That's life, you know, I'm sorry. I know that, well, one of the wonderful things about Doctor Who is that I believe that somebody somewhere will love me. For somebody somewhere, I'll be someone's Doctor, even if everybody else hates me. Someone will think I'm just the bee's knees.
Your predecessor, Matt, was the youngest ever Doctor. Your equal eldest with William Hartnell. Part of you must worry that a more elderly Doctor might have trouble hanging on to the younger end of what's essentially a kid show.
I don't think so. I think there's a magic about him that is not about being in your 20s or in your 30s. There's, you know, we don't, you know, consider the Wizard of Oz to be too old, or we don't consider Father Christmas to be too old. You know, these are mythical, magical characters, and the fact that they've been around the block a bit only adds to the magic, I think.
Your Doctor is clever, driven, makes sure he gets his own way with more than a hint of darkness. There are some similarities, aren't there, with a certain political spin Doctor?
Sure, of course, yeah. Of course, my Doctor has is specifically the same face as Malcolm Tucker.
I've got more on my plate than a spinster at a wedding. That wasn't a reference to your daughter, by the way, Andrew.
The Doctor's a much more genial and friendly character, and much more joyful and fun to be around than Malcolm is. And certainly the Doctor doesn't use any bad language, which Malcolm unfortunately does.
Which past Doctors were you keen for people to see echoes of in your performance?
I don't have any particular, I haven't specifically selected any Doctor or Doctors to emulate. I watched the show from when I was 5, so I basically grew up with the show, and I became an actor having watched the show. So I think all of those Doctors probably influenced the way I act anyway. Whether or not I was being Doctor Who, and whether or not I was in another programme, I would probably still be influenced by the way they all perform. But I think all of the Doctors are fantastic, and really, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the talent of each individual Doctor and all the fantastic things that they've done with the part.
Doctor,
Hello again?
will you help me?
Will you?
A Dalek so damaged it's turned good. Morality has malfunctioned. How do I resist?
what has this whole experience been like for you, both as an actor and as a lifelong Doctor Who fan, getting to do this? And of course, you'd appeared in Doctor Who before, so did you think your time had perhaps passed for being able to do this?
I didn't really expect ever to be Doctor Who because I didn't think they were heading in this direction, because the Doctors just seemed to be getting younger and younger and younger, which was great because I enjoyed the show. I was a great fan of Matt and David and Chris. So I was very surprised when they picked on me.
How are we going?
Into darkness.
Here we go again.
It is, of course, one of TV's most successful dramas, and the BBC's hoping that will continue, with the 12th Doctor taking the show into its 6th decade. Lizo Mzimba, BBC News, Cardiff.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years.
He's got that look, hasn't he? Jonathan Holmes from Radio Times has seen a preview, is with us now. I was jolted by one little fact in there, that he's the same age as William Hartnell was when he was in the show, and I thought William Hartnell was in his 70s when he was a Doctor Who.
Yes, they made William Hartnell older than he looked, because he was a grandfather type figure. But I mean, Capaldi's a spry older gentleman. Like, he can do the running about from the Daleks, he can do bending over, so that's all fine. He's not going to have an issue with the crick in his neck.
The Doctor's like 2,500 years old anyway, though, isn't he?
He is. But
so it doesn't matter. I mean, Peter Capaldi's said that as well,
they do make a big deal out of how we now have an older Doctor. Previously, we had very young Doctors. Matt Smith was the youngest ever, as mentioned in that report. But so there's quite a lot of discussion on his terrifying eyebrows and his wrinkles and such, which I would be quite self-conscious about.
Do you... What, the eyebrows or it being darker?
With it being darker also is an interesting choice.
Do you welcome it being darker now? Do you think that's the next phase of Doctor Who?
I think it's an interesting direction for the show to go in, because I noticed you didn't hide behind your sofa here when you saw the scary clips in that episode, but traditionally it's supposed to be a terrifying show. It's supposed to be a very scary show for children, but also generally. And I've got to say, from watching the preview, the premiere yesterday, the scariest part about the new Doctor Who is the Doctor himself. There's a lot of Malcolm Tucker in this Doctor. I mean, without the ferociously bad language, but you don't want to meet him down an alley, and someone does meet him down an alley, and he doesn't want to be meeting him down an alley.
Well, you have the advantage of having seen it. I mean, we just saw those clips where he was walking down a sort of corridor with the troop all listening, and I was very mindful of those scenes from the thick of it, where, you know, that was often the scene, wasn't it? He was walking along, spouting off.
Oh, yeah. Well, essentially, if you replace all the parliamentary private secretaries with Cybermen, you've got something similar. But Capaldi has been a lifelong fan of the show. He actually used to write to Radio Times with wee fan letters about the Doctor, and I've read them and they're adorable.
What, you mean recently?
Oh no, not recently. When he was a child in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, really?
Yes. He's an actual fanboy, and that really comes across when you watch him on screen, the enthusiasm.
There have been some interesting conversations, I don't want to dwell too much on his age, but about his relationship with his assistant as well. And I don't want you to give us too much away from the premiere, but has that significantly changed? Because there was talk, wasn't there, about flirtation between the assistant and the Doctor, which has been going on for quite a few years.
It is dealt with. It's got to be said that the flirtatious aspect between the Doctor and his companion was kind of brought in with the new series when it returned in 2005, because, you know, new sexy age, and so new sexy Doctor. This feels much more reminiscent of William Hartnell, who used to travel around with his granddaughter, and it was a very, very platonic, loving affair, but not romantic, and that seems to be what they're going for here. But they do deal with this in the first episode.
Very good, Jonathan. Thank you very much. We shall all look forward to it. You have the advantage over it. You've seen it already. Thank you very much.
Worth watching, though.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. OK, thank you. Doctor Who, if you weren't lucky enough to go to the premiere, Doctor Who you can see on television on Saturday the 23rd of August.
That's your time.